Hello! It is officially Christmas season, which means I bring out my festive phone case. Yes, I have a case for this season because I'm like that. But this year, the case's purpose is not only to look pretty and protect my phone, it's gonna be my inspiration and detail photo for this project. I'm going to turn this case into real life. Well, the sketch of the dress is going to be replicated in fabric. The case itself is still gonna be my case. But anyway, last Christmas, I gave you my heart, was my first year of having a festive case, and I had this brilliant idea to replicate the dress on the case. But then I just completely forgot about it, and really it's thanks to Casetify for reminding me about this idea that I had when they asked to sponsor a video. So anyway, for the fabric of the dress, I'm just going with kind of whatever has a similar structure to the sketch, and of course the color. But other than that, I'm free to really use whatever because it's a sketch on a phone case. So I didn't want to be too boring and use a taffeta or just satin. These fabrics are I just think they're kind of overused in holiday or special occasion dresses. So I wanted to do something a little bit different. And after some research, I landed on silk wool. So this particular fabric is 51% silk and 49% wool. And one side has this really nice shimmer to it, but it's not as shiny as standard satin fabric. And then also it's got really nice structure, but at the same time, not as crisp as taffeta. So I think it'll be really perfect to replicate that smooth flow that's going on in the sketch of the skirt. So I'm going to take my fabric and my case, which is my reference photo, and let's get this project started. First step of this project is making the pattern. So I started off with a basic block pattern and then played around with the dart placement. We see 2 darts on the front of the dress, but the back is a mystery, so for any decisions regarding the back, I'm doing whatever just feels right. With the neckline, it's a fairly high neckline in the front, and then at the back, I'm sloping it down a bit. Once this pattern was made, I sewed it together, and when trying it on, the neckline was a bit large and gaping, so I pinned it up a bit, but when finalizing the pattern, I will work these tucks out of it, so we'll end up with only the 2 darts in the front. For the skirt, it's going to be a fairly full skirt, and I'm going to do a circle skirt, or more like circles skirt. I'm making it 1.5 circles. On to cutting out the bodice and sleeves. For the bodice, I've decided to line it with this green fabric. Why green? Well, one, it's festive, but also it's the best fabric I could find that wasn't just boring white cotton fabric. Moving on to the darts. These are marked on the wrong side, and both fabrics will be sewn together in these darts, and then pinned and sewn. After they're sewn, they get a good pressing. Onto sewing the skirt pieces together. Most of the skirt seams have selvage, and this will be my seam finish for those seams. Once they're sewn, they got pressed open, and now we can get back to assembling the bodice. The side seams are then serged, and moving on to the sleeves, these edges are also serged. At the top of the sleeve, I'm placing a few small pleats to help get a slightly puffy look. These sleeves are set, sewn, and then serged. Let's talk about this case and others. I have been using Casetify cases to protect my phone for over 5 years now, and let me tell you, I drop my phone a lot, like a lot. And I haven't lost a phone yet, so that is testimony to the case. And that's why I really got excited when Casetify sponsored this video. Casetify uses Chitique 2.0 technology, which is drop test approved for drops up to 9.8 feet. And with this technology, Casetify has created the world's slimmest and most protective phone case out there with their Ultra Impact cases. But let's be honest here, the best perk of these cases is how pretty and fun they are. They come in tons of designs, so you can pick your favorite color or print and match your phone to your specific style, or to fit your mood, or in my case, pun intended, season. You can also add your name or monogram for a truly customized case. Also, Casetify's new Impact and Ultra Impact cases are made of 65% recycled and plant-based materials and are compatible with 5G and wireless charging. The cases are also non-toxic and non-hazardous, and they feature an antimicrobial coating that keeps your case germ-free, killing 99% of bacteria. And seeing as it's the holiday season, these cases make great gifts for friends and family. So join me in using pretty and protective cases while also supporting sustainability, and go to casetify.com/bellamay to save 15% off your order. And also, let's just talk about how perfect this sponsor is for this video. This project was an idea before this video was sponsored, but with that, let's get back to this dress. Moving on to the collar, it is just a bias cut strip, which is 6 inches wide. The piece then gets folded in half, wrong sides together, and is placed on the right side of the bodice. This is then pinned onto the entire neckline and sewn in place. The raw edges of the seam is folded down into the bodice, and the free green edge, so the lining fabric, is folded in. The folded green edge is then hand sewn in place. To finish the cuffs of the sleeve, I just attached a piece of seam binding ribbon. This edge is then folded up into the sleeve, and a blind hem stitch secures it in place. And the time has finally come to attach the bodice to the skirt. This waist seam is then serged. And one of the final steps is attaching an invisible zipper. Here we've got another free edge of green lining, and these edges get turned under, and the folded edge is sewn in place. And we're getting there. For the hem of the skirt, I want it to have a nice crisp edge, so I'm using some horsehair braid trim, which is actually not horsehair, but polyester, and I'm simply attaching it to the edge of the hem. As I'm doing this, I am slightly stretching the braid. Bringing it over to the iron, the braid and fabric is folded over and ironed in place. So really, this hem should also have a bias piece of fabric attached to this edge, and this bias piece would cover the horsehair braid, but I suppose I'm lazy, but also my fabric stash is lacking in red fabric, so I just left it as it is. The top edge of the braid is then hand sewn with a blind hem stitch. And with that, this has been one very long day of sewing, and I have a fully finished dress in one day. But there is one thing still to be made, and that's the buckle and belt. Though technically, that's an accessory, so that can wait and be made tomorrow. For the buckle, I didn't have anything that large, nor could I find anything that large and similar to the drawing. So I'm making one. I'm using this flat, thick metal and bending it to make 4 corners. And I didn't have a large enough piece, so there are 2 pieces to this buckle. And to attach these 2 pieces, I pulled out the masking tape. Yup, super secure. And then I just wrapped. I ended up doing all the edges, including the corners, because it created a fatter look to the buckle and smoothed out all the edges. So I should probably mention at this point that this will be purely decorative and will have 0 pull and tension on it. And also, it's going to be covered in red fabric. It was a matter of wrapping the fabric around the metal and masking tape and then hand sewing it in place. The corners were a bit of a challenge, but in the end, I got a large fabric-covered buckle. Maybe a little rough looking, but hey, it looks like a sketchy buckle. And finally, a piece of ribbon creates the center part of the buckle. For the belt, I decided to cut it on a bias, and then the long edges were sewn together, the seam pressed open, and then turned right side out. And lastly, it's pressed flat. To create this faux buckle look, I used a few clasps and also doubled up the fabric in the buckle to make it look like a real buckle, because a real buckle has a few different layers of the belt going through it.